2, geometric sequences. I didn't really talk about graphing a minute ago, but when you graph a sequence, you graph across the bottom the term number, like term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. And then up here, you graph, like if the sequence was 2, 4, 6, 8, that would be a line, right? That's arithmetic, because you were going up by a constant amount. Today, we're going to talk about sequences that look like this. Term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. Well, maybe the first term is 2, but the next term is 4, and the term after that is 8, and the term after that is 16. Do you remember what it was when it was doing this and going up? What we called that? Okay, I heard from Riley, exponential. Do you remember we did exponential? We did a whole chapter of exponential fun. Okay? Geometric sequences mean you're multiplying by something. Now, it can also look like this, right? We could start with a big number and have it get smaller and smaller. Okay? That's still exponential growth or exponential decay. Now's it coming back to you? Okay. So this is a ordered series of numbers. Is that how we started the last one? Ordered list of numbers or something? Ordered list of terms. This one is going to be with a common. Now, when you're multiplying by a common thing, it's called a common ratio, okay? So guess what magical letter they're going to use? R equals, okay? Now, if you have a series, 7, 14, 28, 56, most of you would find it pretty easy to say you're multiplying by 2, right? But what if what you're multiplying is like 1.17? How do you figure that out? Yeah, you have to divide 2 terms. So this is what I'm going to say. You take any term and you divide it by the previous term. And that will give you the ratio. Does that make sense, guys? 56 divided by 28 is 2. 28 divided by 14 is 2. We feeling okay? All right, explicit form. Well, that's the one based on the term number. Okay, gonna have an N when you're done. How do we do the old one? We said we take the first one and we add the difference N minus 1 times. This time you're gonna take the first one and you're gonna multiply. What did we call what we're multiplying by? R, yep. N minus 1. What am I going to do with N minus 1? Why power? Does that mean I multiplied by something over and over and over? Let me give you a real quick. What if my example was 2x and my ratio was x? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm multiplying by x over and over and over. Does that help you see that that's why it's in the exponent? You're multiplying by r over and over and over. Why is it n minus 1 again? We already know the first term, right? So you're multiplying by r one less time. To get the 7th term, you only have to multiply 6 times. All right. Do you want an example here, or are we going to be okay? What did I just do? 7, 14, 28. Is that the one I did? How would I write that? A sub n equals 7 times 2 to the n minus 1. Okay, huge issue right here. Everybody listening? Somebody is going to write 14 to the n minus 1. That would be a no, right? Everybody's not going to do that? Okay, The 2 is to a power. We can't multiply it by the 7. It's not the same thing, right? 14 to the n minus 1 is not on my series anywhere, right? Okay. Recursive. How does this go? This is based on the previous term. So you take the term, you do the previous one, and you do what? How do you get to the next one on this kind of sequence? You multiply, and what do we call what we're multiplying by? R. You can use parentheses if you want, instead of my big dot, but somehow you got to tell me you're multiplying. Not adding or subtracting, you're multiplying. And what is the other piece of this? Remember, there's 2 parts to these guys. You also have to tell me what the first term is. Some number. Okay. So for my question a minute ago, did I start with 7? I can't remember. What did I start with? And I was multiplying by 2. You'd think I could remember that short of a time. Okay, what would this one look like? You'd write a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times 2, where a sub 1 is 7. Remember, you have to tell me both of those things, which is no different than the other form, right? You had to fill in both the first term and the ratio. All right. To save time, because some of this is just repetitive today, we're going to kind of maybe do like some of these. We're only going to do the evens or the odds, but the first one we better do both because they're 2 different things here. Does this one have a common ratio? 8 divided by negative 16, or negative 4 divided by 8, or 2 divided by negative 4. Are those all the same thing? What is that ratio? Okay. So this was a yes, it's geometric because they're multiplying by negative 1/2. I see you awake? Okay. Is this one multiplying by a common thing? If I did this over this, I would get 1/2. Does it look like they did half here and then half again and then half again? If we got rid of that term, right. But it as written, it's a no. Okay, the whole rest of the worksheet, they are geometric. It says find the common ratio. That's telling you it was multiplied by something. Let me give you a little hint on this one. When you want to do fractions, look at the top separate from the bottom, because when you multiply fractions, that's how you do it, right? Top times top, bottom times. So what is the top doing? 2, 4, 8, 16. So the top of the fraction is a 2. What is the bottom multiplying though? 1, 3, 9, 27. So it's multiplying by 3. Okay, let me show you another way. You could have taken 4/3, any term, divided by the previous term, okay, which is 4/3 times 1/2, which is 4/6, or 2/3, right? Same thing. Okay. Oh, find the next 3 terms. All right, quickly. If I keep multiplying the top by 2, I'll get what? 32. 64 and 128 over, what am I multiplying the bottom by? 27 times 3 is 81. 243 and 729. Just be frightened. That's taking up memory space. It's just useless information, right? All right. What's happening? What do I notice as soon as I see that it's going negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive? R is going to be negative. Okay. What do they multiply by? Negative 4. I can pick any one, divided by the previous one, I get negative 4. Okay, might need help. The next one times negative 4 is negative 256. Times negative 4 is positive 1024 maybe. Negative 4096. How did I do? Okay. Probably. Close enough. All right. This is where I would like to start skipping around a little bit. Let's do the harder one. Which do you think looks harder? 9? Okay. What's wrong? Okay. This looks a lot like this, yes? Okay. This is the explicit form. It says find the common ratio. Can you pick out the number that's the ratio? -4. Now it wants the first 4 terms. Yes, the first term is right here. The next term, if I multiply by -4, would be 1, then -4, then +16. Now, what if I didn't notice that right away? How could I always find the first 4 terms given an explicit formula? Put in a 1, put in a 2, put in a 3, put in a 4. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. All right, this is an easy one. We're supposed to find the ratio in the first 4 terms. Anybody notice what they're multiplying by? 1/6, the first term? 108. Okay, 1/6 of that, or divided by 6, you need exact answers, guys. Don't give me decimals. Give me fractions. Divide by 6 and we get what? 18. Divided by 6 is 3. Divided by 6 is 1/2, 1/12. Okay, multiply by 6. I'm going to stop there because it said 4 terms. Don't go beyond. Then I'll think you don't understand 4 terms. Common ratio in the 8th term. R is -4. Anybody confused about that? Okay. How do we find the 8th term? We take the first term, which was, and we multiply by -4 how many times? 7 times. Or if you wanted, you could actually put this all in, right? To get the 8th term, you would take -2 times -4, 8 minus 1, or 7 times. All right. Would it be a good idea to just skip all the parentheses? Actually, on this one, it wouldn't matter. I don't think so, because a negative to the odd power is going to be negative, right? Times this negative would be positive, so it wouldn't have mattered, I think. But I wouldn't. Don't skip the parentheses, okay? Because it's going to make a matter part of the. It's going to matter part of the time. Somebody tell me what we get. 716. Okay, that's lovely. Find the explicit form. Which one do you want to do? 12? We can do both. I don't care. A sub n equals what? First term, 2, r, 5, n minus 1. So I'm going to write 10 to the n minus 1, right? Only if I want to get it wrong. Okay. Can anybody do this one real quick? What's r? Yeah, take any term divided by the previous one. So it's 1/3. Be careful when you do one with a fraction, guys. Really use parentheses, okay? Because if I write down 3 times 1 over 3 to the n minus 1, that's not the same, right? Because it looks like the 1 is only, don't write it like that. All right. Find the explicit. No. Find the explicit. Oh, easy. We're still needing this guy. Somebody do this first one. What are we going to write here? 16 times 1/2 to the n minus 1. Good enough? We're rocking it. Okay. Find the recursive. I feel like we just did these. Let's do 17. What's r? -6 over 3, which is -2. So be careful, recursive. So I write a sub n equals Recursive is the one that has to have the a sub n minus 1. So the previous term times -2. You know what? I'm thinking I need some parentheses. Otherwise, that's going to look like a -2. Even if I put a big dot there. If you're careful, I guess you could make it without the parentheses. And what else do you have to tell me? Where the first term is 3. Everybody okay? Do I need to go back and do this one? The previous term times 3, where the first term was 3, right? You don't have to do that one. All right. Oh, find the recursive. Back and forth and back and forth. A sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times, what are we multiplying by? Can you pick it out? It was a -5. Where the first term was, uh-oh, what's the first term? You can put in a 1 here if you need to. 1 minus 1 is 0, so this is all 1. It's just 0.4. I was trying to trick you. Okay, we good? Can I just skip to 20? All right, explicit formula. Let's do that first. Can you figure out what they're multiplying the top by? 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. I think the top is 1. What are they multiplying the bottom by? 2. What if you couldn't figure it out? You'd take 3/4 and you divide it by 3/2, and you could do it on your calculator and it would come out 1/2, okay? Now, so write the formula. A sub n equals, explicit formula. First term times to the, okay. Now, I need you to pause because eventually your calculator is going to be unhappy with you when you try to do these kind of questions. I think it will find the 11th term for you, okay? Because it's 3/2 times 1/2 10 times. But let me tell you, eventually it's going to get too big and it's going to give you an ugly decimal and I'm going to mark it wrong. I need you to look. Are we looking? Do you understand that this is 3/2 times 1 to the 10th over 2 to the 10th? Does that make sense? Okay, 1 to the 10th is 1 times 3 is 3. The top had better stay 3, yes? Or we did something wrong? How can we... This we can just do without using the fraction bar. Just do 2 times 2 to the 10th or 2 to the 11th. 2048? Is that right? Yes. This one the calculator would do. Yes, I'm just saying when it gets, like if I asked you to find the 52nd term here, well, I'm not even sure it would do it. 2 to the 52nd is pretty darn big. But do you understand what I'm saying? Eventually, the calculator, I think, won't do more than 4 places in the denominator, maybe 5. And after that, it just changes it to a decimal. All right. So what's going on here? Let's write it first. The first term is -1.5, and it's okay to write it as a decimal here. What are we doing? Multiplying by -2. Be careful, you need that negative inside the parenthesis, right? To the n minus 1. So if I'm doing 11, minus 1 is 10. 1024 negative 1024 plus 512, 1536. Anybody? So far, so good? Okay. Your brain falling out of your head yet? Remember, I like these because they're number patterns to me. It's just a pattern. It's just a pattern. Okay. What's happening here? Uh-oh. This is where they get tricky. You can think of these a couple ways. They give you the first term, so this one isn't too bad. There's a second term, there's a third term, there's a fourth term that's 24. If I wrote it out like this, how many different, or how many ratios did they multiply by? Be careful. 3. The difference here was 3 terms, right? So they multiplied 3 by some ratio 3 times and got to 24. What do we do first? We divide, and then we cube root. Everybody is good with where the cube root is on your calculator? Or the 1/3 power, right? Please tell me you know that now. Okay. Can you cube root a negative number? That's going to come up in just a second here. Only if it's an even power. If it's a cube root, you don't have to pull an eye out, right? If it's a cube root, you can cube a negative because negative times a negative times a negative is negative. Okay. This one is positive 2. What else are we supposed to do here? Oh, let's write the explicit. Oh, that would be fun. What would that look like? Equals the first term, which is 3 times 2 and minus 1. And sometimes putting parentheses there helps students realize they can't multiply together. I don't know. Okay, now we want the 11th term, so it's 3, the first term, times the ratio of 2, 10 times, or 11 minus 1. 2 to the 10th is 1024, times 3 is 3072, is that right? All right, we're rocking this. We got it. There's fractions without power. There's fractions. Okay. How many ratios did we multiply by this time? Still 3, right? 5 minus 2 means they multiplied 3 times. So this term was multiplied by something 3 times and became this term. Okay, you can use your calculator if you need to. 4 over 81. When you divide by a fraction, you flip it over and multiply by the reciprocal. That's negative 1 over 27. But what do I have to do still? Yeah, that's a 7. I've just lied. That's a 7. What do you have to do to get rid of the cube? Cube root. If it was a fraction that wasn't one we could cube root in our head, you cube root the top separate from the bottom to keep it a fraction, okay? But the cube root of negative 1 is negative 1. The cube root of 27 is 3. Did everybody get negative 1/3? However you did it. Okay. Now what? I need the first term. So the first term times some ratio gave me the second term, right? So that meant the first term times negative 1/3 gave me negative 4/3. Or the first term was negative 4/3 divided by negative 1/3. Some of you have trouble when it's fractions. Flip it over, multiply, and you get... I got positive 4. Did someone get positive 4? Yeah. Lost? Anybody? I can go over more steps. Okay, so now that we know that was the first term, right? Okay, now let's write the explicit form. A sub n equals 4 times negative 1/3 to the n minus 1. Oh, that's an interesting set of parentheses. I think they're touching at the top. No touching! All right, now what do we have to do to find the 12th term? Okay, I think we might need our magical powers of... We're going to do negative 1 over 3 to the 11th, right? Okay, so I think we have to do 4 times negative 1 to the 11th, which is going to be negative 4, over 3 to the 11th, because I want an exact answer. So what do I get up top? -4. But on the bottom, what's 3 to the 11th power? 177,147. Is that right? I just remembered that it had some sevens. That the calculator will not do in exact form, right? If you type it all in a big mess and then you do math enter, it just goes, you thought I could do this. I can't do this. Doesn't know what to do. All right, let's try this. Oh, we're going to skip this one. Why am I going to skip this one? Anybody see? They already gave us the first term, right? That's the easy ones. Is that the last one? Oh, well, I'll do it then. Help me write it. 1.5 times r 3 times is 12. R cubed is 8. What's r again? Okay. So a sub n equals 1.5 times 2 to the n minus 1. We're going to put in an 11. So we get 10 times 1024 is 1536. Again, we had that number earlier. We had a negative 1536, yes. Okay, so what's the homework on this? Oh, there's not a slide that says. It must be no. Do worksheet what? This, it goes with 4.